Well, hello there. Mark Lillibridge here for the new and one of the most exciting, I think, podcasts in football, Bridges Brawl. I'm super excited. As most of you know, I am a former NFL player, former NFL scout, former NFL sports agent. Now I actually coach and work in youth sports, but I do a ton of stuff for high school athletes, but my focus is still on the NFL and college players, getting those guys ready, watching those guys and getting them evaluated out for the NFL. So still have my hand in writing scouting reports. A lot of those you guys saw as it happened for the 2020 NFL draft. If you tuned in, you saw us do our first round mock and our first round live coverage, talking about each player and breaking out each player. But we're going to do that moving forward. I have a ton of information that I want to share with fans. And what I'm going to do on these podcasts is this is kind of going to be my place to just rant for 30 minutes twice a week. So I know a lot of you will listen to podcasts and you're like, man, that's just, it's droning on and on, or I just don't know I'm not following this. We're going to get some good guests. We're going to get them on quick. We'll do some breakdowns of players. We're going to do breakdowns of games, kind of talk about highlights, but typically it's just going to be, quick hitting segments and kind of talking about the current events that are happening when it comes to things in the NFL. And as of right now, things that we're going through in the NFL today, big news is the Pat Mahomes deal. I am a fan of the deal. I think that there's so many people out there right now talking about Pat Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football right now. And a lot of people were knocking this deal. I know Florio came out on Pro Football Talk and said, he wouldn't have done this deal. And the reason that the deal was done was because of, that Lee Steinberg, who's a solid agent, wanted to get this deal done. I disagree with that from an agent standpoint. I get it. Like, I see where you'd want to get a contract locked and loaded and get a player done. But you're talking about a guy who just came off a Super Bowl and who signed the largest contract in NFL history. And in this article and in other, seen what other people have talked about with this contract is that, he could have waited. He could have been franchised for a couple years, maxed out at the 40% rule of the third year. And then in breaking that down, it would have spiked 44%. But if in breaking all of that down, there would have been a $9 million and change difference in the first 5 years of the contract, because he still has 2 years left on his contract, and he's sitting there with with those 2 years left on his contract, and then he would have been franchised. So if he would have waited, he would have been franchised. Over the next 2 years, he would have made $27.63 million. Okay, good, we got that. In 2022, would have got a franchise tag. All right, and so let's just assume that we're going to go off low numbers there. He would have got $31 million in 2021. In 2022. Probably should say it's $32 million. And then so in 3 years, he would have made about $124 million. Okay. Then you add add that up into all the 5 years, it would have been about $150 million over 5 years. Okay. In the new contract he just signed, he's getting 141 million. 141 million. So give or take, let's just say it's $9 million difference. I am a huge believer and a huge proponent, and I've always been this way. Give me money now as opposed to money I can wait on. Okay. You give me the money, the bonuses, and the money he's getting right now. Let me get a good financial planner. Let me put that in the bank. Let me invest that. Let me ride that right now. Because cash right now is king. Cash right now in my pocket today means a lot more to me than it does in 5 years, than it does in 4 years, and in 3 years. That's why you talk about guys that they want the guaranteed dollars and contracts, but what they really want is they want the cash up front. They want the money now. Let me have that money now. Let me do with it what I want to do with it, as opposed to letting the team sit on that, put it in their bank, put it in their interest rates, do what they want to do, and let them collect that money. No way, man. The one thing you always want in any deal you can get is you want the money now. That's why you can go, if you want to go, that's why banks love to get you locked up to a 5-year lease on a car or on a vehicle, on a loan for a vehicle. Because that interest rate just keeps compounding and compounding and compounding, and that's how they make their money. They're not sitting there. There's no bank that's sitting there saying, okay, well, that's why they love good creditors. That's why they want to have high interest rates. That's why are people with bad credit, so they can get those high interest rates. Because shoot, they'll give you 23%, and then they're charging you 23%. You're paying on all that, and then heck, you might still foreclose on the dang thing on the car. You might have to get the thing get repoed, right? It's like a credit card. It's the same thing. Take money now. So that $9 million in 2025. I'll take that now. I can. If Watson's got, or excuse me, if Mahomes has got good people, invest in his money, more to make up for that. But the other part about it, this is the other thing that I stress all the time, and I think it's not appreciated as much. Pat Mahomes is a god in Kansas City. He is a hero in Kansas City. He's not going anywhere else. He brought a Super Bowl championship to that town. He can do whatever he wants in Kansas City. He could ride there for 5 years and put the fans through all this. Oh, we don't know if he's going to sign again or if he's going to be here again. Now he's going to be there for at least 5 years, but for longer, if it's 8 years, 10 years, if he finishes his career out here, there's something to be said about guys that win a Super Bowl and finish their career out there, right? Brady would have loved to have this. Tom Brady would have loved the Patriots to step up and say to him after he won, heck, his second Super Bowl, third Super Bowl, we're going to lock you in to a 12-year deal, and we're going to pay you, at that point, maybe let's say $350 million. We're going to pay you $1 million. That's all Brady wanted to go back this last year. That's all he wanted was to go back, have somebody love him, give him some love, and tell him, you're our boy. You've done so much for this city. You've done so much for the upper Northeast. You've done so much for the NFL. We're going to show you some love. They didn't do that, and they lost him. Now he's going to Tampa Bay. But I can't. And Tom's all excited. He's posting all these videos. He's pumped up about life. And oh yeah, I got my boy Gronk down here, and I'm going to help, and I'm going to win a Super Bowl in Tampa. I guarantee you, in his heart of hearts, I know this, that he would have loved to have been in New England, finishing his career up, having been in one city for his whole career, and having been just be the icon. He's already an icon. He'll go into the Hall of Fame. They don't do it anymore. He'll go in as a New England Patriot. He'll go in as you'll know him as a Patriot, just like you always remember Joe Montana as a 49er. You don't really remember him as a Kansas City Chief. But for Mahomes, he now gets to retire on his choice, on his terms. Heck, he might know this guy, but he can go out and have the peace of mind that knows that, hey, I'm living in a great city with a great fan base. I have a great head coach. I have great teammates around me. I have a great infrastructure as far as the front office. Cost of living is cheaper than it would be if he's living in San Francisco or if he's living in New York or wherever else. He's still close to Texas. He's in the heart of the Midwest. He's the big dog in town. They don't have an NBA team. They don't have an NHL team. They got the Royals, which are, hit or miss depending on what year you're looking at. He's in a storied franchise, and he's the man. For the next 12 years, he's the man. There's no price tag for that. You can't put money on that. You can't sit and tell me at any one point that guys wouldn't love that security, that instant money that he's got right now. And guys can walk into that locker room and they know when they're signing as a free agent, when they're drafted to that place, hey, you know what? I'm going to have Pat Mahomes hand the ball off to me. I'm a defensive player. Hey, we're looking at defensive players. Well, good. I got a leader. I got a guy who's a Super Bowl champion. I got maybe the best player in football, an MVP. He's running this organization. Well, you know what? That's where I want to go. That's my destination. I want to be a Kansas City Chief. There's so much that this signing does for him that it's easy. Sure, you can sit in semantics the numbers and make them spin them however you want to sit and say, well, if he would have got tagged here, he would have made this. And if he would have got tagged here, he would have made this. But instead, he's got money now. You don't think Dak Prescott would love to have this contract right now or even close to it? You don't want to be franchised. No player wants to be franchised. That's why all these guys are fighting the franchise tags. That's why all these players, they're saying, well, I won't show up for camp. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be franchised. Pat Mahomes doesn't ever have to worry about that now. He's set up. He's set up for his life. And that's the other part about I'm all for capital gains. I'm all for making the money when you can. I'm all for getting paid. I'm all for, hey, man, maximize your value when you can maximize your value. But Pat Mahomes, there's no way in his lifetime he can spend $450, $500 million. I know there's taxes, I know there's other stuff. But again, if he's doing this right, he has set himself up to, heck, be a part owner at some point if he does down the road, if that's what he wants to do. But he set the stage for future quarterbacks. And I know people, and we're going to get into this at one of my other pods. We'll break this down a little bit more with tying the salaries into the salary cap and the ratio of that, of whatever the salary cap, the ratio will be. It's a mechanism that can be used. It's really simple. It really is. It's just wherever the floor is of a percentage. So you want to be 20% of the salary cap. When the salary cap goes up, his salary goes up. So he's always at 20% of whatever the cap is. There will be somebody that will do that. There will be a player that will do that. Mahomes was probably the guy. I don't know who the next guy would be. Maybe Lamar Jackson. There's a possibility that Lamar could do it, but it won't be. Maybe Deshaun Watson, but that might not be for a couple years. I think we got to get through this COVID. And I definitely think we got to get through, a couple more years of football. It might not be till 2022 or 2023 till we see that mechanism used. But again, I'm all for this Mahomes deal. I think it's a great deal for the Chiefs. I think it's a great deal for Andy Reid. It's a great deal for Mahomes. Of course, it's a great deal for his agents, Lee Steinberg. But I'm not for this where, oh yeah, you know what, he shouldn't have done that deal. He took less money than doing a year-by-year approach. Granted, he could have had guarantees. There's an argument too, $140 million worth of guarantees in there. And how many quarterbacks do, suffer injuries? Brady had a knee. Mahomes already went through this. Mahomes missed games because of the way he plays. We had a knee issue. Now, the guy's a warrior and comes back from it, but he's not going to be the same player because as he gets older, he's going to slow down a little bit in his game. He's not going to have the same thing. So to be able to lock this money in now and to be able to get the deal done now, then this is your insurance policy. So again, man, I'm anybody that wants to sit and tell me this is a bad deal or that this is just that this deal should not have gotten done, completely idiotic and completely moronic. I'll disagree with them till the day I die, because again, man, take money in hand, take stability in hand, because there's so many guys that would love to have those deals. And the other part about this, and I want to switch topics here, but is NFL contracts, even though this is technically a 12-year deal, man, it's a year-to-year deal in the NFL. Ask Alex Smith. Man, ask any guys that have gotten hurt, but ask guys that have gotten cut. Look at the guys that have went and signed big-time deals with teams. Ask Malik Jackson. He was a huge signing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nope. Didn't work out for him. Ask Albert Haynesworth. Dropped back a couple years. Ask Albert Haynesworth. Man, just because you sign a 4 or 5, 6, 7-year deal doesn't mean you're going to make it to year 3 or year 4. So take the money now when you can get it. Take the guaranteed dollars up front. Get that signing bonus. Put that in your pocket. Man, I think I'm ecstatic for Mahomes to get this deal. And you know what? He's committed to the Chiefs for long term, and I think it's a great deal all around. And the other part, and the last thing I'll say about this is, sure, there's you can always nitpick every deal. Too long. He shouldn't have done it for 12 years or whatever. Pat Mahomes ultimately had to sign off on this deal, right? I mean, at the end of the day, Pat Mahomes' signature has to be the one. You can negotiate a contract all you want. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the guy who signs this has to be the one to agree upon it. If he didn't want to do this deal, he didn't have to do this deal. Nobody forced him. Nobody sat there and said, you have to do this deal. He didn't have to commit to that long. That's the kind of guy that Pat Mahomes is, though. He wants to have stability. He wants there to be a place where teammates are saying, hey, that guy wants to be here. I want to go be with him. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a smart move by him. And I think you will find that now the Kansas City Chiefs will be with Tyrann Mathieu, they've proven that they can bring in and work with great veterans. But I think this will be a spot where a lot of veterans are going to want to come. Hey, everybody wants to play for Andy Reid anyways. And then when you win a Super Bowl, no question about it. But this now locks them into, I think, a destination spot for a lot of free agents. You're going to see in the future of guys will be. I think guys will take less money. They know that Mahomes isn't going anywhere. They want to play for him because they think they got a shot to play in a ring. It worked That worked out really well for the New England Patriots for a long time. Tom played undervalued. Tom Brady played undervalued for a long time of his contract. He took lesser the market value deals, and nobody was ripping that. Nobody was pounding Tom because Tom just kept winning Super Bowls. Tom's going to be go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. Nobody ripped that. Nobody ripped his the money he was making. He kept coming back and taking less and restructuring his contract, and he still got paid. But everybody, well, Giselle makes a ton of money, so Tom's going to be fine. But now if people want to rip Mahomes for doing this deal, duh, you're stupid. Shut the door on that, man. Mahomes is happy. I'm happy for him. And that's Bridges' Brawl right there to all the haters on the Mahomes deal. Good job, Pat Mahomes. Congratulations on that deal. Hey, I want to transition here a little bit. I got about 10 minutes left. I want to quickly spin into I'm going to do this on every show, at least once a week. When we get this, probably I'll do it on my every Tuesday show. I want to break down some rookies that people should be looking for in each division. And today I want to work on the AFC East. And so today, this is a guy that I think, especially with the Buffalo Bills, Zach Moss, running back, was drafted in the 3rd round this year. I think is a guy, when you start building your fantasy teams, Zach is a guy to Utah that you definitely want to target as a handcuff guy, especially with Devin Singleton. I think Singleton had a great year last year as a rookie. But I really like Zach Moss. He's a 5'9", 223-pound, just bowling ball of butcher knives. This is a guy who just is, when he gets rolling downhill with the ball in his hands, he will pick up tough yards, runs through contact really well. A lot of people will just say he's more of an inside runner. I don't think so. I think he's really elusive. When he gets into the open field, he's got great balance. He's a really good pass catcher, and I think he does a really good job. One of the hardest things for rookie running backs and a guy like Zach Moss, especially with a shortened training camp, will be the blitz pickups and the pass protection. But again, I think this is a guys in Zach Moss for the Buffalo Bills who, if Sean McDermott uses him the right way, which I think he will, and they have a little package just for him. He doesn't need to be the lead dog. You got Devin Singletary for that. But with Zach Moss, I think you can have a package for him that is built by offensive coordinator Brian Debo, who will just it'll work really nicely for him. And this is a guy I think quietly could be a 8 to 10 touchdown poacher from Devin Singletary because he's going to be used a lot in the red zone. I know they got TJ Yeldon there. Again, as I've already mentioned, they got Singletary, but I just really like Zach Moss. I think what he brings to the table, not only as a every down back, I think he could be an every down back. He won't have to be for Buffalo, but what he could do is a quote unquote change of pace type back for them. It's going to be a nice addition for this offense and a nice target for Josh Allen out of the backfield. On defense, I think this was probably one of the better picks in the 2020 draft, and is AJ Epinesa from Iowa, the defensive end. There's nothing flashy about his game. When you watch him come off the ball, you're not sitting there going, okay, he's not just, Robert Mathis or Dwight Freeney spin move type guy. He doesn't have that quick twitch to his game. But what he does have is he comes off the ball with leverage. He comes off the ball with power. He can hold the point of attack versus a run. He collapses when there's down blocks, and he makes the gaps smaller than what they are. He is quick to react, and he is a sure tackler and a sure sacker. So I don't think I'm not going to sit there and tell you that AJ Epinesa is going to have 8 to 10 sacks, but I will tell you I think he'll have 5 to 6 sacks in his rookie season. And I tell you what, he'll be a difference maker in the run game, and he'll be a great spot guy because he's different than Jerry Hughes. He's different than Mario Addison. What they bring to the table, I think he's going to be a lockdown run type guy. He's going to be great in the red zone defenses, and he's going to be. It won't be surprising if he's one of those top tackling defensive linemen in the NFL this coming season. I think he's got his game is fits that. And I think he's going to be. I think he's a great addition to the Buffalo Bills. Already a legit defense, and a team I think will win the AFC East. Now to the Miami Dolphins. Great pick, 2nd round pick, Robert Hunt out of Louisiana, offensive lineman. Hunt's game. This is a 6'5", 300-pound man. Moves better than that laterally. He has started games at left guard, left tackle, at right tackle in college. This is a guy he was a really good high school basketball player. You can see that in his game. That's how he plays. He's got really good foot quickness, really good foot speed. He's got to work on his overall strength, and he needs to clean up his technique. But again, and so he might be a step behind in training camp because there is a reduced training camp. But this is a guy that I think will play valuable snaps for the Miami Dolphins before the season's over. It might not be right away, and it might not be in the early weeks. But Robert Hunt will play valuable snaps and be a valuable contributor to their offense before the season is out. On defense, I absolutely love Curtis Weaver, and he is going to be the one thing that Curtis Weaver couldn't ask for better than anything in the world is he gets to learn from Kyle Van Noy. They're going to use him as an outside linebacker, one of those kind of off the ball. If you know Brian Flores' defense at all, former defense coordinator from the New England Patriots, they use him. They'll use him as a rusher. They'll use him in drop. Think of Mike Vrabel. Think of Kyle Van Noy. Think of how they use New England football. If you're listening to this podcast, you're a football player, so you know what I'm talking about. Football fans, you know what I'm talking about. But that's how they're going to use Curtis Weaver. This guy is not only is he a sack guy. He was phenomenal in the Mountain West with sacks, but he leaves as their all-time sack leader from Boise State. But this is a guy who is he can hustle. He is relentless. He is heavy and fast with his hands. He uses great shock and stun to move blockers. And I think what he does really well is he translates then his hand usage of speed into power. And I think he's going to be a really good addition. Great. He'll place a lot of special teams. I think he's going to be a star on special teams. I think he'll eat that up. Even though he's a second-round pick, I think this is a guy that will crave, or excuse me, a fifth-round pick. I think this is a guy that's going to crave playing on special teams. And I think you're going to see him in a valuable role duty this year for the Miami Dolphins. I'm excited to see what Curtis Weaver can bring to the table, and I'm really excited for how he's going to learn from Kyle Van Noy. The next group here is the New England Patriots. Some of the New England Patriots rookies. I'm going through some rookies, one on offense and one on defense. I'm going to do this every Tuesday, at least till we get through all the divisions and conferences. Again, we're looking at AFC East rookies. We already looked at Zach Moss and A.J. Epinesa for the Bills. We looked at Robert Hunt, offensive guard center for the Dolphins, and defensive outside linebacker Curtis Weaver for the Dolphins. Now I'm out of the Patriots, and I'm going to go with a guy on offense that was undrafted, and that's a guy named Jeff Thomas. Jeff Thomas, I've actually watched Jeff Thomas play in high school. Here I'm in St. Louis. Watched him play at East St. Louis. Of course, went down to Miami and had a really nice career in Miami. Not the biggest guy, but has elite world-class speed. I think they're going to find a way on this offense to use him in the return game. But they're going to find a way to get him. Josh McDaniels is going to find his hands on the offensive side, and I think it's one of those things. You sit there and you look at the depth chart for the Patriots, and you got Keneal Harry. There was a first-round pick last year, and you got Julian Edelman, right? Then you got Bird and Mohamed Sanu. Sanu needs to step up. No question. Sanu needs to step his game up. It should be the two. You got Marquise Lee. And then after that, you really don't. You got Matthew Slater, who's right now is their fifth. He's a special teams captain. So there's a spot open on this team somewhere for a receiver. And I think Jeff Thomas is that guy. I really think Jeff Thomas is a sleeper to make this team. I think he is a guy that is an undrafted free agent. I think he's got the speed that they don't have. There's no other receiver up there that has the speed he has. And I think he can add addition as a returner, as a punt returner, as a kick returner. Because you don't want Sanu and Edelman doing that. And so, you can put him back. You have Brandon Bolden as your kick returner. You can put Jeff Thomas back there as your kick returner. Explosion that Brandon Bolden does not have and speed to take it to the house. So that's Jeff Thomas on the offensive side. And then on the defensive side for the Patriots, I like Josh Uche, outside linebacker from Michigan. He joins a defense that's going to be able to use him as a situational pass rusher. And, he's an undersized guy. But this is a guy that has speed to burn off the edges, and I think he plays consistently with low pad level. He's got great inside or outside moves, not only a bull rush, but he can flip his hips and make himself small and make himself give up the blocking platform on his chest. He can turn it so he's not getting blocked. So this is a guy that I really think, I think in Belichick's defense, he'll be able to use him. Might use him as an inside linebacker, use him as an outside linebacker. but I think he's going to find a way to use Josh Uche, and I think Uche is going to be one of those players that we're going to sit there and talk about. You're sitting talking in December, and in January was a difference maker, and he's going to be one of those guys I think will be on all rookie teams. When I'm doing the voting for the Pro Football Writers Association, he's going to be one of those guys that we're talking about. For defensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie, outside linebacker, first team guy. For the Jets, and we'll finish up now with the Jets on their offense. Denzel Mims, receiver, he walks in the door as their number one. I mean, he has to become Sam Darnold's number one target. He's a guy that if you're playing fantasy football, he's a guy I would target early. He's a guy that I think is going to have a huge year. If you watched him when he was at Baylor, there were so many games. I watched him a lot because I'm a Big 12 college football fan. You watch him play. There were so many jump ball situations, contested situations, deep ball situations where he just made plays when there's no way he should have made the catches, no way he should have made the plays. I think for a strong-arm guy like Sam Darnold, I think that Mims will save him. Again, I am concerned a little bit about his early season success because of the shortened training camp and because he's not been able to go through OTAs, not been able to go through mini camps. But I do think that Mims is one of those guys that I think could be a big-time player early mid-season, late season. But he could have some early season success just because he's so talented. I mean, just because he's such a big target and he's got such good hands, I just think this is one of those guys that because, I mean, you're talking about him. I mean, your other receivers are in the slot. You're going to go Jameson Crowder, and then you're going to say Rashard Perryman. That's your receivers? Huh? Really? I mean, he's got to be the guy. I mean, you got to have somebody opposite Le'Veon Bell. You got to have somebody to throw the ball to. You don't know if you can count on Christopher Herndon at tight end. So I think Mims is going to be he could be a breakout star. I think he could be a big-time player. And it wouldn't surprise me. It will not surprise me at all if he's an 80-catch, 1,200-yard receiver guy this season. I would temper that a little bit only for the fact of because they haven't gotten a training camp. But I think he's that good of a talent that I think he's going to have a huge year. And trust me, he's going to be one of the guys. As long as nobody on my fantasy league's listening, he's going to be a guy I'm targeting. So I'm excited about Denzel Mims, what he can bring to the table for the New York Jets. And lastly, on the defensive side, I like Bryce Hall. I know, Bryce Huff. We're talking about a free agent, right, man? We're talking about a college free agent who that is at outside linebacker. But I watched Huff enough at Memphis to know what he brings to the table. And I think this is a player that, again, these are the fun stories. These are the guys that when you watch them, you sit and say, okay, I get why he was at a draft, that I understand, the certain things. But I also know Greg Williams. Yes. And I know the kind of players that he likes. And Bryce Huff is smart. Bryce Huff is tough. Bryce Huff can do a lot of different things as a pass rusher. He can close on the line of scrimmage and seal. He can get to the outside. He can play laterally. I think there's some things to his game. Now, he's a little bit stiff in some of his movements. There's some things that you're not going to really drop him a lot into coverage. But there's the parts of Bryce Huff's game that fit as a situational pass rusher into what Greg Williams wants to do. So that would be just a guy that I would keep an eye on as you look at the outside linebacker spot for the Jets. Because right now, I mean, you're starting Jordan Jenkins, who was their third round pick in 2016, and Harvey Langley. Right? That's it. You don't really have a lot of other guys outside linebacker. So Jets fans, heck, football fans, Bryce Huff's a guy that I recommend checking out and see what he does. So again, folks, hey man, this is Mark Lillibridge for Bridges Brawl. I'm gonna be coming to you twice a week as we roll into the football season. I'm gonna give you these half an hour, I don't know, 35, 40-minute segments. If we get good guests on, I might go a little bit longer. And we're gonna have a ton of really big-time guests coming up. All the guys I've reached out to have told them I'm doing this for my 25 plus years in football as a player, as a scout, and as an agent. Guys I made a lot of friends over the years, and guys are excited about coming on the podcast. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you listening. Look forward to having you get this listenership built up. And you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify, on all the Brawl networks. Again, this is Mark Lillibridge for Bridges Brawl. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Bridges Football. You can find a lot of content on there, especially on my Facebook page. There's a lot of write-ups that I'm of course, won't be you won't see here or because it's but you can find all my write-ups on my Twitter handle, Bridges Football, Instagram, and on Facebook, Bridges Football. I do a lot of breakdowns of positions, of formations, just anything you want to know about football, football 101. I do all that stuff, Bridges Football, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Look forward to having you tune in every twice a week. And again, if you got any questions, as always, you can hit me up, DM me on any of those platforms, and I will answer your questions the next show. Thanks. God bless.